and lots to get to, and pumped to have you with me. So thank you for joining us. Do appreciate it. Here we go. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Thank you for being here. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button now that you are watching on YouTube, that certainly would help. Same thing on Twitter. If you're on Twitter watching, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here for the show today. This is 1TS Daily. We're live every single day right here on the One True Sport YouTube channel with your daily fix of wrestling talk, wrestling news, wrestling show analysis, just wrestling stuff in general. We got about 25, 30 minutes every single morning to talk with you. And this is the time to do that. So make plans to join us every day, 11 Eastern, right here, Monday through Friday. Of course, I do have the live chat open as always. We got a RVD chant going on right now for Ulysses. RVD. Okay, love it. Big talent in the One True Sport family. So yes, cheers to Rob Van Dam. I got live chats open, and as you guys know, the best part of this show, seriously, and what I look forward to on a day-to-day basis is interacting with you guys on the program. So get your questions in, get your comments in the live chat, and I will get to as many as I can. If you want to make sure that I get to a specific comment or question that you may have, drop a super chat in there, and that way you go right to the top of the list, and that way we are sure to get to your question or your topic or your comment or your rant or whatever it is that you want to say or talk about on the show. If you want to rant against your or for your favorite NFL team or soccer team or what have you. If you have a dog in the fight for the World Series this year, go ahead, drop a chat about that. We'll get to it. Reminder to everybody, if you haven't headed over to onetruesport.com yet, give that a go. You want to make that part of your day. We've got some exciting developments going on there soon. And also we've got a just tremendous merch store with all sorts of cool stuff. You can get 1TS Daily hats and shirts, right? Sweatshirts from One True Sport. Merch for all of our talent that we have in our One True Sport family. So check it out. OneTrueSport.com is the way to do that. And I think you'll find something there. As I've mentioned before, free prize from the show to the first person who is out and about with a 1TS Daily hat or a 1TS Daily shirt. And, if you take a picture and if you put it on social media and you hashtag 1TS Daily and you tag me in it, a prize coming your way right here from One True Sport. So do it. I want to see these shirts out in the wild. All right. All right. So let's get into some topics. We have, this is cool. F50 says, here in Japan, it's Otani Mania. As an Englishman, I've never felt so confused. Well, hey, so cool that you're listening from Japan. I didn't realize that you were doing that. I know you've joined the show before. And so, thank you for that. And cool that you're in Japan. I bet it's Otani Mania. I mean, it's in the United States here. I feel like it's always Otani Mania. Like, that guy is just an incredible ball player, and he's so fun to watch. So I am a White Sox fan. So goodness gracious, worst record in the history of baseball this year. So needless to say, I'm looking forward to the World Series to watch Otani just get a chance on the biggest stage possible in the World Series, for the championship. So good on him. I think it's going to get crazier over there, F50, before it gets less crazy, especially if he's playing well in the World Series. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. Look at that. Live chat is open. We are ready to go. Get your chats in. If you want us to cover something, drop a chat, drop a super chat, drop a live chat, ask the question, and we'll cover it. Nothing better than getting a couple questions on the show, throughout our time here together. All right, let's start off by talking about last night's episode of AEW Dynamite. A few newsworthy things coming out of that show. I didn't think it was a great show, top to bottom. And here's why. You've got this big Jon Moxley storyline, right? You've got this big Jon Moxley angle. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem like Tony Khan can help himself. And like, he's got like this gang of just jobber, barely on the roster guys waiting for Mox and BCC all night long outside the arena. Every time they cut to them, John Silver's doing weird stuff. The facial expressions are off. I mean, it looks like a clown car of talent. Like, what? Like, it just did not come across as serious to me. This was like, it just lacked the intensity that I think the Moxley character and the Moxley story is going for. Like, this was just off in terms of tone. And I thought that hurt the overall vibe of the show because, look, if Jon Moxley came in there and just beat up all those guys, I think he'd be a babyface. Like, seriously, after how they were acting, I think that crowd would have popped for it. Like, I genuinely think that in that scenario, they would have cheered him because these guys that are going up against him, they're like nothing guys. Like, they're just, it's just not there with them. It's just not there. And so the storyline that AEW wove throughout the whole show was, all right, is Mox going to show up? If and when are these guys going to get after him? And then in the end, Mox outsmarts all of them, has been in the arena the whole time. The other BCC members were already inside the building. And it's like, man, could these baby faces look any dopier? And the answer is no, they couldn't. They look so silly and they look so bad. And just not good. Just not good stuff, top to bottom, with that group in particular. Now, on the flip side of things, once you get past that negative, need some caffeine. Thank you, Starbucks. Hey, maybe a sponsorship, once you get past that, I thought what they did with Orange Cassidy was pretty effective. I think it was good early in the show for Cassidy to have that interaction with Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor? Yes. Reminding the audience that they were once together, having Taylor kind of pump Orange Cassidy up, and only to have Moxley beat him up, at the end of the show. And so Orange Cassidy comes out. It's just a little late because he's just a little distracted. His head isn't on straight. And then, you have that moment with Cassidy in the ring where he's looking down like at his fallen friend. And now that, Cassidy is going to have to turn into the hero. He's going to have to turn into the hero that fights Mox to try to beat him. That, I think, is an effective storyline. I think Orange Cassidy can pull that off. Like, nobody can get sympathy on the AEW roster better than maybe Bryan Danielson can get a little bit better sympathy than Orange Cassidy. But other than that, he's a really good babyface that has a lot of equity. And so when it's time for him to finally fire up and fight off those dastardly Moxley heels, like, I think that's going to get over. I think it's going to get over. I think it's going to get over big. I don't think anybody thinks he's going to win the world title, but that's okay. All you have to do here is plant the seed of, hey, can we make people suspend their disbelief and just doubt a little bit, maybe that Orange Cassidy might win, or in this case, he's the underdog, right? So even if people don't expect him to win, the formula is, well, that's okay. That's what we're going for. And now we're going to try to get people to get behind him and push him over the edge. This can work. And I think overall it's a good first feud for Jon Moxley. But just scrap the other nonsense. Like, what's the point? Like, these other babyface guys are like totally ineffective. They're not getting the upper hand on Moxley. There's like 10 more of them than there are BCC members. It's silly and it's pointless and it waters down the whole thing, the whole story. So stick with Cassidy and Moxley and get rid of this gang stuff with these dopey baby faces. It doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. And it just is not, it's not providing the storyline with anything of substance at this point. It just isn't. It just isn't, and it's not good. And so drop it while you have the chance before it can ruin the storyline anymore, because you don't want that. You don't want that to be a thing. All right. Let me take a look at the live chat here and see what we have. Andrew H is in the chat going, Ohtani is incredible. And that's from a Yankees fan. Well, it's good of you to admit that, especially on the day before the World Series kicks off with your Yankees playing opposite him. It's true, though. He is incredible. And for your sake, Andrew, I hope the Yankees can kind of pitch around him. Or hopefully they can just totally not pitch to him and don't have too many other guys on base. But yeah, Ohtani is incredible. Carl here is saying Cassidy can get beat and recover from that. It is about how he continues to evolve as a character post full gear. Carl also says, and get rid of the I was the loser before AEW talk from babyfaces. Man, yes, I totally agree with this. First of all, too many babyface characters on the show use this. Same thing in NXT too. Like Ethan Page was talking about it. Trick Williams was talking about it. Like just drop it. Like no one wants to hear that. Look, the bottom line is everybody that's in the pro wrestling industry, for the most part, like there's some WWE talents will be a little bit different because, they have the Performance Center and a lot of them started there. But in AEW, everybody has the same story. They all were independent wrestlers. They all were starving artist wrestlers on the independent scene. That's life. That's what it is. And yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough. But that story, that narrative is important for them, the person, right? I'm not diminishing that what they accomplished isn't significant. It is. But on a TV show, when you want to differentiate yourself as a star, like that is the same narrative of all the people. So it's like you're not standing out that way. So I absolutely would get rid of that too. I totally agree, Carl. And yeah, like going back to your first point here, Cassidy can get beat and recover from it. He's Teflon in that way. And I think he will here. So that's it's a good call out. It's a really good call out. Johnny is in the chat saying at least Tony is using his big roster. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. I think in this instance personally, Johnny, like to push back on you here, it's better to just not use the guys. Like, what is John Silver getting out of this? Like, what is Jay Lethal getting out of this? Satnam Singh was out there. Like what? It's okay. So they're on TV, but big deal. Like, okay, they get checks. Sure, that's good. But outside of that, I think this hurts them. I mean, it hurts them. It makes them look like dumb baby faces. And not only that, but you're hurting Mox from just a perception perspective when you don't play this thing straight up serious. And none of those guys really were yesterday. So I would argue that use your big roster in a different way. That is true. I'm not saying to not use your big roster. You absolutely should use your big roster, but just you got to use it better. Like put him out there with as these dopey guys who constantly get one upped by the heel. It's like, who cares? Who's going to get behind these guys? Not to mention there's like as I said, there's like 9 of them out there. There's like a 9-on-2 or 9-on-3. What? Like, no, it was bad. It was bad. So, Johnny, I get your point, but I respectfully push back. All right. That was like the main hook of the entire show. We did also have a ladder war on this show, though. That was an interesting match. I thought it was a little slow going, to be honest with you. I thought, Jericho, this is like these kind of matches are the best chances that he has to, it's the best chance that he has to have a good match these days. Is like ladder matches, it's garbage matches, it's FTW matches, right? Like that's the best chance he has because he just can't work the same way that he used to. He's old. and it's just, all right, look, what else can you expect, right? he's been through the ringer. He's seen a couple things. And last night, I thought they had a chance to have a good match, and it was just okay. It was just okay. In the end, you have a lot of shenanigans. You have a lot of interference on the part of the Learning Tree faction with Brian Keith and Big Bill. And in the end, Chris Jericho wins the ROH World Championship for a second time, leaving Mark Briscoe titleless. So I fully expected this outcome. I don't think you do this match unless you have some kind of plan. And it seemed like they got a plan here. We'll have to see it play out. I don't know how much money there is in Mark Briscoe chasing the championship down again. Because you think that they've got something set up here where it's like Jericho can now defend the title. They got a big show final battle coming up. Whoever faces Jericho, maybe you can pop a little ROH buy rate with that, and then put the title on whoever faces Jericho. I guess that could be Mark Briscoe, but we just saw that whole story play out with him. So I don't know that there's a real big appetite for that. Who else could it be though? That's the question. I mean, who else are you willing to drop down to the ROH level in order to face Jericho? In that sense. I mean, I'm thinking of people who are on the roster. I mean, look, you just signed Daniel Garcia again, but I don't know that that's a card that you want to play, right? I mean, he's, I think if you're going to get what you want to get and what you need to get out of him, it's got to be on the main roster, not as a, ROH championship contender. I don't know, maybe Samoa Joe, I mean, if you want Joe to have an ROH run just for, the nostalgia of that, I mean, you could probably make an argument there and do that. Jericho and Joe, I think would be fine, from a feud perspective on the mic, but I don't know that that's moving the needle for anybody. But there is nobody on that level from on the babyface side of things that screams to me okay, yeah, this is the match that you go to. I think that's a problem. I think you want to have that guy. There already so that people can get excited about him climbing the ranks, and they don't have that right now. And then Mark Briscoe, I think, just kind of would feel like old news, at that point in time. So let's see here. Andrew here says Mark losing the title was dumb. It does nothing for Jericho. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't do anything for Jericho. No. I think this is a move to try to buoy whatever's going to happen for ROH in December. But they've got that pay-per-view there, so they need a match. And goodness gracious, they don't have one. It's certainly not Ishii. And to Andrew's point here, Andrew says, and Ishii came out and the crowd went mild. Shows a real lack of understanding of who he is, but he's been presented as a jobber. So there's that too. Yeah. I mean, there's no good reason to get behind Ishii. He's there, he constantly loses, he doesn't do anything, nobody knows who he is anyway, and he never wins, and they never talk about it. So the crowd went worse than mild. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in that stadium, and it was kind of sad for the guy, because he's this tenured guy. He's got this long history, great wrestler, in his time, and has had a lot of great matches, but I don't know. It just, nobody cared. Nobody cared. So it can't be him. If that was the plan, and the plan is, okay, hey, we're going to go Jericho and Ishii at some point. No, got to pivot on that. Nobody cares. And people already don't care about ROH. So it's man, that's not good. Carl here says, I'm not sure Jericho has drawn eyeballs to the level of popping pay-per-view buys for ROH or shopping ROH around as a TV property. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. They tried this before with him. This is his second time as ROH champion, and it didn't work then. So maybe it'll work now. I don't know. Again, I think Jericho could pop a few eyeballs if it's a novel match. They don't have that babyface challenger ready right now to make that a novel match, and that's unfortunate for them, because that's what they would really need in order to in order to make this successful. And so we'll see. But the big thing here is get the ROH stuff on ROH programming. Like, I don't understand like the concept here. It's like, if you want people to watch ROH and you want people to buy Honor Club and you want people to order the ROH pay-per-views, you can't have ROH stuff happen on AEW Dynamite, because then people are just conditioned to go, all right, well, yeah, it's ROH, but I don't need to watch anything ROH, because anything of note that happens in ROH happens on AEW Dynamite. And so it's just like, what? Like, what are we doing? Like, come on, that's promotion 101. Like, make your product this thing that people need to seek out and find. And yeah, that may mean that in the short term, you lose some viewers, you lose some interest. But then at least you know the people that are watching your product, that are watching the ROH product, are there for it and are into it. They're not, AEW fans just kind of begrudgingly along for the ROH ride because you got to tape some matches. Like that, you don't want that. You don't want that. Ask the 205 Live people how that went. Not good. It doesn't work. So yeah, it's just, you have to make ROH something that can stand on its own, or just get rid of it altogether. You can do the same exact feud, the same one that you're doing right now with Jericho and Mark Briscoe, if it's for the TNT title, or it's for the Continental title, or the International title. Like, there's so many other championships. Why it doesn't have to be for the ROH World title. It's silly at this point in time, unless you're going to make it something that truly stands alone. And I think that's, that's the key. That is the key. And it doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like Tony Khan wants to go down that road. I don't get it. Until he does, people just are not going to care about what ROH is at this point. All right. Also on the show, you saw Camille beat Queen Aminata. So they're building up the match with Chris Statlander for next week. That should be a pretty decent match. I mean, Statlander's all over the place, but I think Camille and her will have kind of a big bruising style match. Eventually, I think Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné is the play. Big whoop, she's like, okay, that's nothing. That's like a nothing feud. That's like a house show match feud. I mean, it's just been pretty lame with her, and continues to be. I thought Shelton Benjamin looked really good in his match this week against Sammy Guevara. Kept up, looked like $1 million physically, and I like the slow burn of this kind of group of MVPs coming together. We know Shelton's in it, but he's approached a lot of different teams, a lot of different people. Like Private Party's been approached by MVP, Ricochet's been approached by MVP. We know that Swerve has. We know that Bobby Lashley, is going to come into the promotion at some point. Like, I think that there's a lot of potential here with this, and the way that it's like the tentacles are just out in the AEW ether. We don't know how it's going to finish out, and we don't know how it's going to come together. So I like that. I like the unpredictability of that. And I think it's been a pretty cool thing up until this point. So good stuff there. All right, let me check the old news feed here. I want to make sure that we get to some important stories that may have happened in the last 24 hours since we've spoken the last. First, real quick, boy, the Kyle Fletcher shaving his head in the middle of the ring last night, I thought was pretty cool. Like, not something that I would do, but Fletcher, it was a long promo. I'll give you that. It was a long promo, too long. However, I thought Fletcher did a nice job with it. Like, I thought his reasoning and his logic for turning on Jericho, like, to me, that worked. It worked as like a reasonable explanation, or not reasonable, a viable explanation that you just aren't going to buy. But you can see why like a bad guy like Kyle Fletcher would think that. I thought the delivery was good too. And I just thought the shaving of the head is just kind of icing on the cake as far as like, okay, this guy's unhinged. Like there's a screw loose up there. Like we got to watch out for this dude, and I think that played pretty well. Okay. News time. Let's hit some news nuggets here. There's a new lawsuit filed against Vince McMahon, against Linda McMahon, and against the TKO group regarding the Ring Boy scandal that has kind of hovered around WWE for years. The lawsuit was filed by 5 former Ring Boys who are accusing former WWE employees of sexual assault. The lawsuit, particularly pertains to Mel Phillips and Terry Garvin specifically. And it says, quote, the underage Ring Boys were groomed, exploited, and sexually abused by Phillips, who targeted children from broken homes. His sexual assaults occurred not only at the wrestling venues, but also in hotel rooms and other locations where Phillips would shuttle the boys in plain sight. Defendants were fully aware of the systemic and pervasive abuse and did nothing to prevent or stop it, the suit claims. So, this is a problem for Vince McMahon and for Linda McMahon. I mean, and they talked about this subject a little bit in the Netflix documentary on Mr. McMahon. And these guys are pushing, and they should. It's a terrible story. I mean, it just is. It's just a terrible, gross story. And, you got to think that there's a lot of people that turn a blind eye to that. And, Vince and Linda, I mean, it's awful what they let happen. And, I hope these defendants get exactly what they're, or not the defendants. I hope defendants. I hope these boys and these adults now get exactly what they're looking for, because they deserve it. Everybody involved in that, from those from the people who are referenced here. Garvin is dead. Phillips is dead. So this is it falls to Vince and it falls to Linda. And again, I hope these folks who were courageous enough to step forward on this get exactly what they're looking for, because again, they deserve it. All right, so so there's that happened. And also Joe Hendry, in an interview with Sports Illustrated, mentioned that Eminem may be stopping by Bound for Glory this weekend, which could be interesting. It's in Detroit. You never know. We'll preview Bound for Glory tomorrow, right here on the show. Tomorrow's going to be a big show. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to preview a handful of different items going into the weekend. So we got to preview Bound for Glory. We're also going to preview Halloween Havoc. We're also going to look at tomorrow night's episode of SmackDown too. So you definitely are not going to want to miss tomorrow's show. We'll be stocked with stuff. We'll probably go longer than 30 minutes, honestly. And of course, all your questions, all your comments, and everything in between on that as well. So tonight, though, on Impact Wrestling, Nick Nemeth versus Joe Hendry, and Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich. They will both those matches will sign their contracts for Bound for Glory. Those matches are 2 Bound for Glory matches, and they will sign the contracts to make that official. Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, Ace Austin, and Chris Bay are going to take on Moose, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, and JDC. Frankie Kazarian is going to wrestle AJ Francis. It's a multiple person match. It's Frankie Kazarian versus AJ Francis versus Sami Callihan versus Laredo Kid versus Jake Something versus Jason Hotch. And the winner gets the final spot in the Call Your Shot Battle Royal. Loser of that match has to enter the match first. Wendy Chu is going to face Jody Threat. Josh Alexander will wrestle Jonathan Gresham. And then Ash by Elegance and the Concierge will have a special launch party. So there you go. Go home show for Bound for Glory. So I think it should be pretty interesting. If you're not a big TNA viewer, this might be one to catch. I think it's an interesting card. Josh Alexander versus Jonathan Gresham. Like, holy cow, it's a really good TV match. More, as I said, tomorrow on TNA and Bound for Glory. Big preview show tomorrow right here on the show, 1TS Daily. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. Be here. Be here. Cool. That's it. We'll wrap it up there. You can check out more of my work at Brass Ring Media. That is my shop. We run all sorts of shows throughout the week. We're live almost every day on the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. So please subscribe there. It's free. It's on YouTube. Just go do it. Also, we have a Substack newsletter that has all of my written work on it and written work from the team. We're really proud of that. And hopefully you guys decide to subscribe to that as well. Totally free. Just search Brass Ring Media Substack. Just do it now. It's free. You can sign up. You get all of our stuff right into your inbox. And we update that newsletter every day with something, whether it's an editorial or a feature or a review of a show or something. It is constantly updated. So don't miss it. Don't miss it. Brass Ring Media on Substack. OneTrueSport.com. Once again, really cool merch there. All sorts of other fun stuff. OneTrueSport.com. If you're watching on YouTube and or Twitter, just like the video, like right now. Like this video. Hit click. Helps us out big time, you guys. It really does. I hate to ask as much as I do, but I do appreciate it, and the show appreciates it. And One True Sport, we appreciate you for that. All right, we'll wrap up there, guys. Thank you to Andrew H. Thank you to Carl. Thank you to Johnny, and thank you to F50 and Ulysses and everybody else who chimed in on the live chats. Thank you to all of our listeners. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday, and we'll talk really, really soon. See you.